Picture this: a beautiful home, a loving family, a seemingly normal life. The kind of place where the grass is always green, the mailboxes are lined up in perfect rows, and the biggest worry on a Saturday morning is whether to mow the lawn or take the kids to the park. It's the American dream, right here in the heart of suburbia. Neighbors wave as they walk their dogs, children ride their bikes down the sidewalk, and the air is filled with the comforting sounds of everyday life. It's the last place you'd expect to find a nightmare lurking just beneath the surface. Now imagine the horror of discovering over 30 bodies buried in the backyard. The peaceful hum of the neighborhood is shattered by the arrival of police cars, flashing lights, and the grim faces of forensic teams. The ground, once a playground for children and a canvas for backyard barbecues, is now a crime scene. The earth gives up its secrets, and with each shovelful of dirt, the unimaginable becomes reality. The community is left reeling, struggling to comprehend how such evil could have taken root in their midst. That's the scene that unfolded at the home of Herb Baumeister, a man who managed to hide a terrifying secret life. For years he blended in seamlessly, his home indistinguishable from the others on the block. But behind closed doors, a chilling story was unfolding, one that would shock not just the neighborhood, but the entire nation. The police tape that now surrounds the property is a stark reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that sometimes the most ordinary places can harbor the darkest secrets. News crews swarm the street, reporters struggle to find words, and neighbors gather in small, anxious groups, whispering about the man they thought they knew. The story spreads like wildfire, and soon the whole country is asking, how could this happen here? This wasn't some remote cabin in the woods, no sir. This was suburbia, folks. Rows of houses, each with its own story, its own secrets. The kind of place where you feel safe leaving your doors unlocked, where the biggest scandal is a neighbor's overgrown hedge. But as the investigation unfolds, it becomes clear that evil doesn't need a dark forest or an abandoned warehouse to thrive. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, right next door. The kind of place where you borrow a cup of sugar from your neighbor, share stories over the fence, and trust the people living just a few feet away. It's a community built on trust and familiarity where everyone knows everyone, or at least they think they do, and wave to the kids as they get off the school bus. Nobody suspected a thing. The laughter of children, the routine of daily life, it all seemed so normal, so safe. But beneath the surface, something sinister was festering, hidden from view by the very normalcy that made this place feel so secure. But behind the manicured lawns and the friendly waves, a darkness festered. The contrast between the cheerful neighborhood and the grim reality unfolding in one of its homes is almost too much to bear. It's a reminder that evil can wear a friendly face, and that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones who look just like us. Herb Baumeister, a husband and father, was living a double life. To his family, he was a provider, a partner, a father who played with his kids and posed for family photos. To the outside world, he was just another neighbor, another face in the crowd. But inside, he was hiding a secret so dark, so twisted, that it would haunt the community for years to come. On the surface, he was a successful businessman, a pillar of the community. He attended local events, shook hands with colleagues, and built a reputation as a hard-working, upstanding citizen. People trusted him, respected him, even admired him. But all the while, he was leading a life that no one could have imagined. But beneath the charming facade lurked a predator, a killer who preyed on vulnerable young men. He moved through the world with a mask of normalcy, hiding his true nature from everyone around him. The darkness inside him was carefully concealed, but it was always there, waiting for the right moment to emerge. How did he manage to keep his gruesome secret hidden for so long? How did no one notice the signs, the subtle clues that something was terribly wrong? Was it denial, or simply the power of a well-crafted illusion? The answers are as complex as the man himself, and they raise unsettling questions about how well we really know the people around us. And what led this seemingly ordinary man down such a dark and twisted path? Was it something in his past, a hidden trauma, or a darkness that was always there, waiting to be unleashed? The search for answers takes us deep into the shadows of the human mind, where the line between good and evil is often blurred. The answers, as they often do, lie in the shadows, waiting to be dragged into the light. As investigators piece together the evidence and the community struggles to heal, one thing becomes clear. Sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones who hide in plain sight, behind the masks of normalcy we all wear. Herb Baumeister was a master of disguise, a chameleon who could blend seamlessly into any environment. To the casual observer, he was just another face in the crowd. Unremarkable, perhaps even forgettable. But beneath that ordinary exterior was a man who had perfected the art of hiding in plain sight. He could adapt to any situation, shifting his personality to fit the expectations of those around him. Whether at work, at home, or in the community, Herb always seemed to know exactly what to say and how to act, making it nearly impossible for anyone to see past the mask he wore every day. He was, by all accounts, a charming and charismatic man, quick with a smile and a kind word. People were drawn to him, captivated by his easygoing nature and his ability to make anyone feel at ease. At social gatherings, he was often the center of attention, telling stories and making jokes that left everyone laughing. Friends and acquaintances described him as generous, outgoing, and always willing to lend a helping hand. His warmth and friendliness seemed genuine, and few could imagine that there was anything sinister lurking beneath the surface. He was successful in business, owning a chain of thrift stores that brought him both wealth and a veneer of respectability. His stores were well known in the community, providing affordable goods and employment opportunities to many. Herb took pride in his work, often boasting about his business acumen and the success he had achieved through hard work and determination. His reputation as a savvy entrepreneur only added to the image he carefully cultivated, a man who had it all together, admired by his peers and respected by those who worked for him. He was a family man, married with 3 young children. To outsiders, the Baumeister family seemed picture-perfect. Herb and his wife appeared devoted to each other, and their children were well-behaved and happy. Family photos showed smiling faces and loving embraces, reinforcing the image of a close-knit all-American household. Herb took his role as a father seriously, making time for his kids despite his busy schedule. He attended school events, helped with homework, and made sure to be present for the important moments in their lives. He coached Little League, attended church, and played the role of the dutiful husband and father to perfection. On weekends he could be found on the baseball field, encouraging young players and cheering them on. At church, he was a familiar face, participating in community events and volunteering his time. Neighbors saw him as a pillar of the community, someone who could always be counted on to do the right thing. His involvement in his children's lives and his commitment to his family only deepened the trust others placed in him. Nobody suspected a thing, not his wife, not his friends, not his neighbors. To them, Herb was the embodiment of the American dream, a loving father, a successful businessman, and a valued member of the community. He was invited to barbecues, trusted with secrets, and relied upon in times of need. The idea that he could be hiding anything from those closest to him seemed unthinkable. His life was an open book, or so it appeared. But Herb Baumeister harbored a dark secret, a secret that would send shockwaves through his community and beyond. Behind closed doors, away from the prying eyes of friends and family, he lived a life that no one could have imagined. The contrast between his public persona and his private actions was stark, almost unbelievable. When the truth finally began to emerge, it shattered the illusion he had so carefully constructed, leaving those who knew him reeling in disbelief. He was living a double life, and the truth, as it always does, eventually came out. The revelation of his hidden world would forever change the way people remembered Herb Baumeister. It was a chilling reminder that sometimes, the most ordinary faces can conceal the darkest secrets, and that evil can hide in the most unexpected places. The whispers started slowly, like a gentle breeze rustling through the trees. Young men, most of them gay and living on the fringes of society, started disappearing. They vanished without a trace, leaving behind worried families and unanswered questions. The police were initially baffled. There was no obvious connection between the victims, no pattern to the disappearances. Some suspected that the men had simply run away, seeking a fresh start or escaping from difficult lives. But as the number of missing persons continued to climb, a chilling possibility began to emerge. Could these disappearances be the work of a serial predator? The truth, as they say, is often stranger than fiction. Sometimes the most chilling stories aren't found in novels or movies, but right outside our own windows, hidden in plain sight. In the quiet suburbs, where neighbors wave hello and children play in the streets, darkness can lurk just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. And in the case of Herb Baumeister, the truth lay buried in his own backyard. What appeared to be an ordinary, well-kept property was, in reality, the final resting place for countless victims. The manicured lawns and peaceful gardens masked a horrifying secret that would eventually shock the entire community and send ripples far beyond the neighborhood. The discovery was as macabre as it was shocking. Police and investigators, hardened by years of experience, were left speechless by the sheer scale of what they found. The backyard, once a place for family gatherings and summer barbecues, was transformed into a sprawling crime scene, crawling with law enforcement and forensic teams. Hundreds, yes hundreds, of bone fragments scattered across the property. Each fragment told a story of a life cut short, of dreams and futures stolen. The painstaking process of collecting and cataloging these remains would take weeks, as investigators worked tirelessly to piece together the identities of the victims and the timeline of their tragic ends. It was like something out of a horror movie, except this was all too real. The eerie silence of the backyard was broken only by the sounds of shovels digging and evidence bags rustling. For the families of the missing, the nightmare they had feared for years was finally coming into focus, more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. How could this have happened right under everyone's noses? Neighbors who had lived just steps away were left questioning everything they thought they knew. The realization that such evil could exist so close to home sent shockwaves through the community, shattering the illusion of safety that had once defined their neighborhood. The answer in part lies in the meticulous nature of Herb Baumeister's crimes. He was careful, calculated and methodical, taking great pains to conceal his actions. His ability to blend in, to appear as just another friendly neighbor, allowed him to operate undetected for years. The evidence he left behind was hidden so well that only the most thorough investigation could bring it to light. He lured his victims to his home, a place where they felt safe, where the warmth of hospitality masked the danger that awaited them. His charm and apparent normalcy disarmed those he targeted, making it easy for him to gain their trust. It was a place where they let down their guard, never suspecting that their trust would be so horribly betrayed. The comfort of the setting made the reality of what happened there all the more disturbing, and once they were inside, he made sure they would never be seen alive again. The walls of that house, the trees in that yard, became silent witnesses to unspeakable acts. The truth, once hidden in the shadows, was finally brought into the light, forever changing the lives of everyone who lived nearby. What drives a man to commit such horrific acts? It's a question that has haunted humanity for centuries. In the case of Herb Baumeister, the answers, like pieces of a shattered mirror, are fragmented and incomplete. There were hints of darkness in his past, whispers of mental illness and a troubled childhood. Some reports suggest he struggled with his sexuality, grappling with internal conflicts that manifested in terrifying ways. And then there was the addiction, the insidious grip of alcohol and drugs that further clouded his judgment and fueled his dark desires. Imagine for a moment the horror of discovering that the man you shared your life with, the father of your children, was a monster in disguise. That was the reality that slammed into Julianne Baumeister, Herb's wife, with the force of a runaway train. She had stood by her husband even when the whispers started, even when the police came knocking. She believed in him, trusted him, but the truth, when it finally emerged, was too horrific to comprehend. The news of Herb Baumeister's crimes sent shockwaves through the quiet community of Westfield, Indiana and beyond. How could this have happened in their own backyard? How could a man like Herb Baumeister, a man they thought they knew, have committed such unspeakable acts? The case became a national sensation, a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most ordinary lives. People struggled to reconcile the image of the charming businessman and family man with the reality of a cold-blooded killer. Herb Baumeister, the man who had so carefully constructed a facade of normalcy, chose a final act of cowardice. Before the law could hold him accountable for his crimes, before he could be forced to face the families of his victims, he took his own life. His suicide, while perhaps bringing a sense of closure to some, also left a void, a gaping hole in the pursuit of justice. It robbed his victims and their families of the opportunity to confront him, to demand answers, to seek some semblance of understanding. The legacy of Herb Baumeister is a dark stain on the fabric of humanity, a chilling reminder of the capacity for evil that resides within the human heart. His crimes left behind a trail of shattered lives, families forever broken, a community haunted by the specter of his deeds. And while the passage of time may dull the sharp edges of grief, the questions linger. Why did he do it? How could he have gotten away with it for so long? And perhaps most importantly, could anything have been done to stop him?